Influencer marketing is a new form of marketing. Everyone is a content creator. Everyone can create their own community and their own audiences.
Today, I'm speaking with Elisa Padilla, CMO of the New York Red Bulls, a professional soccer club based in Harrison, New Jersey that competes in Major League Soccer. What about the effect of Lionel Messi? How has it affected your job?
We call it the Messi Effect. He has elevated the league to the next level. We have the greatest player in the world playing in our league, and we're benefiting it from a visibility perspective because now soccer is part of the conversation because of him.
What are some of the either strategies or even some of the tactics or channels that you do?
We focus on four things. One is community. The second is development. And then the other pillar for us is
welcome to Top CMO. I'm chatting with Elisa Padilla, CMO of the New York Red Bulls. And Elisa, great to have you on the show. First of all, I just love for you to frame for those who don't market within sports and sports teams. I know you've mentioned before that sports marketing is about community and marketing a sense of community. What do you mean by that? What is it to have could be fanatical base of support and fans, and how you market and how you engage and how you use a team to build a sense of community?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Ben, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here with you today. I think that what separates sports from other products is that sport, we are selling an experience. And we are selling that affinity to a club that fans get to cheer on. And when you purchase a ticket to a sporting event, you don't know the outcome. So you are sitting next to people that share the love of what's happening, whether in our case, it's the pitch, right? Because I'm currently working in soccer. However, but whether it's on the basketball court, on the pitch, on tennis courts, I think that that's the beauty, that we are selling an experience. And when you're sitting, whether it's an arena, a stadium, you're sharing a moment with others that are, experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing, and you don't know the outcome. And that's the greatest part of it.
Well, and what do you do when you think about just how you approach marketing overall? I mean, you mentioned a few things there. I mean, I think one, maybe three big pillars of this is: one, you're sort of sharing a moment; two, there's a sense of uncertainty, you don't know the outcome; and three, there's a sense of community around that because there's a lot of people that are also really invested in this moment. So when you look at those three pieces of the marketing experience, what are some of the either strategies or even some of the tactics or channels you do that amplify or highlight those things? What are some things that you think about in terms of how you think about marketing, if those are three pillars of what makes an amazing New York Red Bulls experience and being a fan of the New York Red Bulls?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that even before, we think about the tactics on the strategy end, is understanding who is coming to our matches, what is that demographic and how do we get more of them, right? Because we know that if the majority of our fans coming to the games are, 43-year-old men who are married, who live in the suburbs, who are professionals, who have a family, there must be more like them, right? So as we like to think about, okay, we are going to fish in a pond where there are lookalike fishes, if you will, and then how do we grow beyond that? So thinking about MLS has the youngest fan base. So right now, when we're thinking about our strategic plan, when we built it for 2024, and as we're looking ahead to 2025, it's what's the roadmap to get younger, to go from 43 to 38 to 34, right? Who are the career builders who are living in urban areas around our stadium, and how do we get to them in the most relevant manner, right? So So first it's the data, and then second is what are they consuming? Because as we're thinking about reaching them, we need to make sure that we reach and meet our fans and potential fans where they are. So the 28-year-old may not be listening to, the radio in his car. He may be listening to a podcast. So as we're putting together the roadmap of tactics, those are the things that we're thinking about. And then how are we going to, we are in a market that is super, super cluttered. We have 13 other professional sports teams, and plus along, we have college and university teams that are also, top notch. So it's how are we breaking through? And for us, we focus on four things then. One is community. So making sure that we are engaged with our community partners, that we're engaged with the Board of Education, that that we are connected and understand what our community needs. That's one pillar. The second is development. So the New York Red Bulls, one of the things that we're super, super proud of is the fact that our youth programs, we have over 40,000 kids playing soccer. And it is something that we're super, super proud of. So how are we engaging with those kids that are learning how to play soccer? And how are we engaging with their parents? And how do we then get them to a match and create lifelong fans? And then the other pillar for us is fan engagement. So how are we entertaining our fans once they once they purchase their ticket, and what is that street to seat experience? So from the second they park their car or they walk from the path, what are they listening to? What are they seeing? How are we activating their senses? So for example, the area outside of the arena is called the Boulevard. And on match days, we activate it with music. We activate it with our freestylers, which are the dancers that play soccer. We have full on activations. So it's like, what's the experience before they get into the arena to watch the match? And then obviously once they're inside the arena, it's how are we entertaining them on the video boards, on the music that they're listening to. So it's really, we think about the entire customer journey as we're thinking about marketing, because I think that, when I think about what really sets us apart is the fact that we're thinking about evoking emotion to drive action to then get share of wallet.
Well, and you said the four things. I had three of them. You said community, development, fan engagement, and is there a fourth?
Yes, culture, Ben. Thank you very much. Yes, culture. Okay. So that's very, very key, because the intersection of sport and culture. So for us, it's music, it's art, it's fashion. And the cultural part is one where we lean into our global company, where we're able to really connect the dots internally with our other colleagues within the world of Red Bull.
Well, and so, and how do you think then about, like, what is the driving metric for you? Like, are you optimizing for like people who come to games, and if you sell more seats at matches, and that's great, but there could be fans all over that aren't, necessarily even in the area. So what do you optimize for when you're thinking about like you have 2024, it's your best year ever because you drove which metric?
Oh, well, there's several metrics, but number one is ticket sales it's butts and seats. Every single sports marketer, that's what we're measured on. It's butts and seats. Second is MLS has a huge signed a 10-year deal with Apple. So who's watching us through MLS Pass? That's another key driver for us. And then third is once they're inside of the arena, what is the experience, right? How are they measuring their experience at a New York Red Bulls match and at Red Bull Arena? Those are the three key indicators for us. And I mean, there's a few others, but for us, those are the top three that really, if we get a 10 out of 10 for experience, we have won. If we have sold, all the tickets that we need to sell that are in our business plan for every single match, we have won. And if we drive subscriptions to MLS Pass specifically to watch the New York Red Bulls matches, then we have won.
And How much do you think about your competitors as other sports? Like you're competing against, football, basketball, baseball, kind of, big, traditional sort of a US sports industries. Do you view them as competitors, and your definition of persona? It sounds like when you skew younger is like, that's your competitive advantage is to sort of go after this market. Like, how do you think about the other types of sports? And also, I'm going to get to New York market in a second because it's a competitive market, but how do you think about those sports in the context of just like share of mind in New York?
Yes. So the way that we think about the other sports is we think about shared audiences. So for example, we play in New Jersey, and right down the street, we have the New Jersey Devils, who are a professional hockey team. So what's great is that from the data, we know that we share a fan base with the Devils, right? So I would never think about, the Rangers. They're, obviously they're in New York, but we know from the data that we don't share their fan base. So I think that the way that we think about other sports teams is where do we intercept, and how can we then partner together and really cross promote one another? Because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, everybody's trying to sell tickets. Everybody's being measured by the butts and seats. And if we can help each other because we share a fan base, then we're both winning.
Okay. And is there an example of something like that you would do that maybe people wouldn't expect with the Devils, that you would do that creates a joint experience, or that leverages, both of your respective strengths?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did 3 promotions with them during their season. Their season just ended. But the first one that we did was we sent them a bunch of merchandise, and they captured content with the hockey players, tossing around and playing soccer with our swag, right? Because that's what hockey players do, right? So that was an organic moment where we were able to send them branded New York Red Bull soccer balls. They captured the content, and that was a non-commercialized, right, collaboration. And then we took that one step further. The Devils were running an in-arena sweepstakes, and it was all about the Garden State sweepstakes. So we donated tickets to the sweepstakes, and we also donated swag. And then it was just like we were part of what they were promoting to give their fans added value, right? So we were mentioned throughout that game. And then the other thing is we sent them jerseys. When we launched our jersey this year, we sent jerseys to their players so that they were able to, again, from a surprise and delight perspective, they were able to wear our jerseys as they were coming into their game.
Well, and how is it with the other, the other teams in MLS and Major League Soccer? Are you working together like this? They're obviously in different markets, but they have different insights from those markets, different things to learn, things that worked. Do you view each other as all partners in this?
Well, I think so. We definitely do not do cross promotion so for example, New York and NYFC, we have not done a cross promotion.
They're the
with
other
them.
New York MLS team across the river. You're not cross doing things together.
No. However, what I can say is that from a marketing perspective, MLS does a really, really good job of capturing everything that all the teams are doing, and then they share that out to all of us. So there are bi-weekly marketing calls where all the marketers from across all the teams get on a call with MLS, and everyone is sharing what they're doing and its best practices. So, Columbus, for example, the Columbus crew do an amazing job with their supporter groups. So when a few weeks ago, when I traveled with the team and went to the Columbus crew game, I sat with the person who handles their supporter group. And he walked me through what they do, from A to Z, because that's an area of opportunity for us at the New York Red Bulls, right? So that's an example of sharing best practices. And it's not necessarily, we're not competing with one another, because their approach at Columbus would be completely different than our approach, but just hearing of their process and what they've been through was actually very beneficial as we're putting together, as we're capitalizing on our opportunities here at the Red Bulls.
And what about the effect of Lionel Messi? Many consider greatest footballer in the world. He enters Major League Soccer. He's at Inter Miami. What has been the effect on other teams? How has it affected your job? How do you think about his presence and his popularity, and sort of where that team goes? A lot of ticket sales generally go.
Yeah, I think that I will say this, that this is a great time to be in soccer. It's a great time to be at MLS, and we call it the Messi Effect. He has elevated the league to the next level, Ben. MLS still isn't one of the top four, right? And we're just clawing our way to get to the top four. And I think that Messi is going to help us get there. And I think all eyes are on soccer now because of him. So it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing that, we have the greatest player in the world playing in our league. And look what he's done for Miami. Like, kudos to them. It's great what he's done for their team. And, we're all benefiting from it. And we're benefiting it from a visibility perspective, because now soccer is part of the conversation because of him.
And for a game, if he's going to have his presence in the game, how does it shift the game in terms of marketing the game? How do you approach it differently? How do you think about it? What comes to bear if he's going to be, there in person?
I think that having him come to a game, if it's considered an A+ game, if you will, and all that means is that we're just making sure that everything is even flawless, because we know the amount of people that are going to be coming through our gates. So thinking about the communication in terms of transportation, advising everyone to get to the arena early. We know that there is going to be many, many more people attending the match. So we want to make sure that those that purchase tickets to that match have a flawless experience. So we control what we can control. And from an operations perspective, that's our focus. We still do the traditional marketing stuff that we do for all of our other matches. So from a digital perspective, digital marketing, social media, all of that remains intact. And I think that the extra effort really focuses on the experience, because we want to make sure that whenever he is playing, and that the crowd obviously, is much bigger, that those folks have a great experience, and that they're going to want to come back even when he's not playing.
Well, and how much do you think of, or others, in your position with other teams, think of, marketing, promoting the team versus marketing and promoting soccer in North America? How much do you think of like the overall? Because if that overall pie grows, then you're gonna sell more seats versus like very specific to New York Red Bulls.
Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting question, Ben, because I think that I speak for how we think about it here at the New York Red Bulls, and I don't want to speak for my other colleagues across the league, but I think they go hand in hand, right? Because from growing the sport of soccer and building the future fans of the game, that starts at the grassroots level. That starts with the youth programs, with the youth academy. And so, that's one part of it. And then on the other part of it, of selling and marketing the New York Red Bulls, for us, we want to make sure that the people within our DMA, our 75-mile radius, know that we are their home team. And if they're going to spend any money on seeing a soccer match, they should think first of the New York Red Bulls, because we're your local team, versus thinking about any other team. And then, you drill down one more level, and you think about, okay, if someone is going to spend $200 on a sporting event, and the Devils are playing, and the Knicks are playing. How do we get top of mind to make sure that they spend those $200 with the New York Red Bulls? So I think, it's a complex situation to think about, but I think they go hand in hand, because one is an entertainment experience, right? Coming to watch a game and then the other is growing the game literally on the pitch with kids.
Well, and do you take anything from, other places in the world where, our soccer is football there, or football, and you have incredibly fanatical bases, whether, I've lived in South America, so some of those, going to those matches can be crazy. Also, obviously Europe, other places. Is there anything that you take from other teams around the world that have more developed audiences than maybe we do in the United States?
Yeah, I think the one thing that, I have been studying and really, really want to figure out how to get it done here is rituals, right? Because we want to be a community where when you come to New York Red Bulls fan, you feel like you're in community with others that love this sport and love this team. So the next step is, what are the rituals, right? What can we do that you can only experience when you come to a New York Red Bulls match, and that you're experience it because you're a core heart fan. And I think that the European, the folks in Europe do it very, very well. And the supporter groups is another area where I am just I'm taken aback when, I watch stuff on YouTube and I see them all singing, all chanting, it's like on cue, but it's all them, it's all organic. And I think that that's really what I would love to see, within the next 5 years here at our club.
Well, and also very unique to the New York Red Bulls is the fact that you're owned by Red Bull, the company, the corporation, which has a strategy of having, teams around the world. It's unique in a lot of US or North American sports, because you don't have a team brand as part of the name of a team like you do here. So what effect does that have on the marketing? How does that shift the fact that, you kind of, you share ownership and a name with, well-known line of energy drinks? How does that affect your marketing now, and how much do you kind of coordinate with beverage marketing folks, for instance?
Yeah. So I think, for us, what's really great about being part of the global family of Red Bull is that we have colleagues that work, on the racing side, that work on the beverage side, that work on the music side. And collectively, we're able to really, be part of each other's world and do cross promotion and synergy and really leverage the brand to elevate everything that we're doing.
What would be an example of that? Was something in either one of the other sporting, because Red Bull is of course known for very extreme type sports, going to space, crazy things like that, and others. What would be an example of something that maybe would be an unexpected type of partnership or synergy?
Yeah. So our New York Red Bulls racing team this year is celebrating their 20th anniversary. And as they were putting their campaign together, they looked across the company and said, okay, what are the other entities that could help us really elevate everything that we're doing and that their campaign name is Forever Rebel. And they came to us and they said, how can we work together to elevate our campaign? And we worked with them on a sweepstakes. So their fans were able to enter a sweepstakes to be able to come to a New York Red Bulls versus Miami match. We then had an activation on our boulevard. And then we also had our players participate by wearing their pre-match tops that were embellished with the Red Bull Racing logo on the back. So that is something that if they weren't part of our family, that would have never been able to get done.
And is it all just the different entities, talking with each other and just both agreeing to do it? Or is there any kind of parent relationship or someone overall who tries to put these things together and coordinate across, all these distinct brands within the Red Bull family?
Yeah. So our global partners in Red Bull Soccer are really the ones that are driving this synergy in regarding all the divisions, because they identified that, look, this is a huge opportunity to use our soccer clubs to really spread the word and really elevate everything that we're doing. So that's where, at least this year, that's where it started. I've only been with the New York Red Bulls for 8 months. And that has been my experience. Someone came in a few months ago, and it was like, this was one of the things that was really, really hot and top of mind from a global perspective. And he has been really working with all the entities to bring this to life.
Well, and how hard is it, and your job compared to maybe other markets, like being in the New York market, there's a lot of professional sports teams. And obviously, in terms of attention and dollars, soccer is not the highest, but you're in, the top US market, maybe the top market in the world. How does that affect how you approach things versus, there are MLS teams in markets where, there's not a lot of professional sports team. It seems it could be kind of like the dominant team in the market for people to get excited about. So how do you think about that in terms of being in New York, but not being in one of the kind of 4 major sports yet?
Yeah, well, I think that's where we need to get creative, right? And we have to think about things that our counterparts, who are in the top 4 probably don't have to think about. But I think that that's the greatest opportunity. And that's where, look, you said it. I mean, we're in the top market in the country. We're in the most expensive market in the country. So not only competing for attention, but also competing for dollars. But I think that that's where, the opportunity rises as to, okay, what are we going to deliver? And how are we going to really, really weave our brand into the fabric of the community to really make sure that we're top of mind versus back of mind, right? So how are we showing up? So for example, November of 2023, it was the first time that we ever did a turkey drive for Thanksgiving. Now that's not like the most, unique idea because so many other, sports teams do it, but it was the first time that we did it. So we opened up our doors to the community, and that was a form of giving back that we hadn't done before. And you know what? It worked. So we have 1 year under our belt, and now this year, we're going to do it bigger and better. So those are the types of things that, we need to do more of to become top of mind and be good neighbors to the folks that, are around us.
And what do you take from some of your other, you've had a long, career in sports and some other adjacent areas too, but you were with the Miami Marlins. What do you take from that experience that you apply now for the Red Bulls?
Yeah, I have to tell you, one of the things during my time with the Miami Marlins are, and still to this day, are so entrenched in the community. They know exactly what their community needs. They know exactly where they need to show up to be visible. They know exactly when, what events are happening that they need to be a part of to make a difference. And I think that that's one of the things that I have taken and trying to implement now here at the New York Red Bulls. I think that there is tremendous value in how they did it in Miami.
Understanding your community presence and where and it repeats. It's a cadence, so you can start to get better year after year as you do it. I can also see the jersey behind you, Brooklyn Nets. You were there for a long time, and of course that's in part of the New York market. How did that prepare you for what you do now in terms of the Nets and also used to be a New Jersey team, became Brooklyn. There was a rebranding. How does all of that kind of inform you for what you do now?
Yeah, I think that the greatest thing about, working for the Nets during the time that I worked there was the move from Jersey to Brooklyn, was where even in New Jersey, they were an established team. However, when they went over to Brooklyn, our mentality was we're an expansion team, because Brooklyn itself, has a tremendous population, and we knew that Brooklyn Knights were starving for a home team, so that we used to our advantage. But it was, again, we were starting from the ground up and building the fandom, and again, being entrenched with the right people and being in the community and getting the word out. So building that fan base from the bottom up is helping me here, because while soccer, while we're not a new team, we're one of the original six when MLS started, we're still building that fan base. And I'm taking a lot of things that we did in Brooklyn and trying to adapt them and figure out how they're going to work here.
And what about this notion of celebrity? Certainly in sports and marketing this year, it seems like it's been the year of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and what that's done for bringing new audiences to the NFL and tracking this. What do you kind of think about that? And what do you take from bringing in other, whether it's celebrities, influencers, or others, and using it to draw attention? What do you think about all of that and using it to grow audiences?
Look, I think that influencer marketing is a new form of marketing, right? Everyone is a content creator. Everyone has a cell phone. Everyone can create, their own community and their own audiences. And what I think is what's great about it is that influencers are speaking to their audiences in their voice, in their tone and manner, which is going to break through versus the New York Red Bulls trying to reach out to a certain segment, which maybe we're not relevant in. And, I think that what Taylor Swift has done for the NFL is incredible. The fact that, young women are now watching football games, even though they're, because they think they might see Taylor on the TV screen. I think that that's incredible. And there's no amount of money that the NFL could have spent to get that done.
Do you try to do more partnerships? Do you try to bring out celebrities to your games, influencers? How does all of that marketing work?
Yeah. So for us, Ben, we're taking the approach of nano influencers. We're not looking to bring out, look, if we have a celebrity calls and says, hey, we're looking to come out to a game, we will definitely take care of them. However, engagement from an influencer marketing perspective is more important to us. So we are working with nano influencers to really reach the audiences that we want to reach through their relevant, through relevant partnerships, and making sure that when they come to a match, they're showing their experience and everything that we have to offer to make sure that it resonates with their audience.
Well, and finally, what do you recommend for other CMOs listening, other marketers listening who don't work in sports marketing, but find this interesting, would like to pull some of the insights or things that are unique to sports into their own marketing? And maybe they could be a consumer marketer, so they're marketing consumers, but it also could be a B2B marketer, something else. What is your advice? Because you've worked outside of sports marketing at Apple, at other places. What is your advice for what you can learn from sports marketing, for marketing in general?
I think that the biggest thing that you can learn from sports marketing is that affinity to the team is, how is the local team building community and affinity to the product, which I know, from a consumer products perspective, how I'm sure that they're thinking about, how are they going to choose my product, Coke over Pepsi or vice versa. And I think that that sports marketing has done it well. We have been, we've been working at creating our fan bases from the bottom up and getting that share of dollar based on inexperience that we're not going to know the outcome of.
Well, and one of the things I like that you said, this idea of street to seat, also for other marketers, is what is your whole experience like? And I think, because we mentioned Apple, Apple is kind of famous for you get the box, you open the box. It sort of has this Apple aesthetic, that you have an Apple product and things like that. So what can you make that process to be a seamless experience? And that maybe it's very clear in sports marketing that the product is this experience, but maybe in other fields where you are selling other types of products, the experience could be part of it or heightened as well, even if it's not a sporting event.
Yeah, correct.
Well, there you have it. Thank you so much, Elisa Padilla, CMO of the New York Red Bulls. Go check out their marketing. Go get a ticket. Go get the full experience. Thanks so much for joining us on Top CMO.
Thanks, Ben.
This amazing episode was brought to you by Top Thought Leader. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.